Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in June. This video is a little bit late, but I was still reading things at the last day of June, like the last little bitty hour of June. So it's a little bit late, but you know, things happen. I also wanted to let you know that I'm not going to be doing a July TBR because I never stick to my TBRs, and I just want July to be open to whatever I want to read. So I'm not going to be doing that, but you will be seeing a vlog going up on Wednesday about a series that I want to incorporate on this channel, and I'm super excited about it, so hopefully you'll stay tuned for that as well. But let's go ahead and get into the 11 books that I read for the month of June. The first book that I read, it was an e-arc that I received from NetGalley for review, and this is called Her Eyes Are Underwater by Ramona Simon. And this is about a serial killer that was, or it's a true story, or it's based on a true story about a serial killer that was in Montana during the 1970s. And in this book, Julia is a girl who is kind of lost, and she's a little older, and she's trying to find somebody to curb her appetites that she has in men. Basically, that's what she says in the book. And she comes across this guy named Alex. They meet in a cafe, and Alex has this mysterious tone about him. He's really good looking, he dresses very well, and she's just very captivated by him. And he just has this, like, she's just very captivated by him just by the way that he walks and by the way that he holds himself around people and the way he just ignores everybody's stares and everything like that. So she introduces herself. She's very forceful about it as well. She wants, but like, if she wants it, she's gonna get it. And Alex is kind of very quiet, and they start talking, and you can see the attraction between them. You can see the pull between them. So Alex asks Julia to a party, and so she decides to go with him, even though she just met him. But she decides to go with him, and something happens in his truck in the woods that kind of stuns her, and that makes her think, was I wrong about this guy? But of course, Alex is a manipulator, and he manipulates her into thinking that nothing was wrong after he just scared the crap out of her. But anyway, so the story just goes from there, and we see how Julia is super captivated by him and always pursues him, even though he doesn't want to have a relationship with her. But they end up having a relationship because he finally gives in to her advances. And we don't really find anything out about the murders until like the middle of the book, but once the murders start happening, once we start to see the murders happening, it just like poof, it just dives into it, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on, and it has so many twists and turns, and it'll make you sick to your stomach. It was just one of those books that I have a hard time saying that I enjoyed it, because I don't know what that would say about me, but I actually did enjoy it. I actually enjoyed the way that it was written and that way that it was presented to the audience. If you are a huge true crime lover and you're a huge, you like to learn about serial killers, I would really recommend this book. There are some disclaimers, of course, because it is this type of novel, but we have a disclaimer for rape, self-mutilation, body mutilation, stalking, anything you can think of that comes along with a serial killer who wants to murder women. Those types of disclaimers. But I ended up giving this book 4 stars because it was kind of slow at the beginning, but then after, like I said, the murders started happening, it just went and went. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. If you are interested in that kind of stuff, I would highly recommend this book to you. The next book that I read was Conventionally Yours, and this is a complete different type of book. What I usually do is I read like a hard-hitting book or a really hard book to read, and then I read a fluffy book. So I decided to pick Conventionally Yours. Again, this was another e-arc that I got from NetGalley. This is by Annabeth Albert, and this is about 2 guys who are enemies. They don't like each other. They've never liked each other from the day that they met until, well, I'll get to that. But they are a part of this club that plays this card game called the Odyssey, and when I first read this I was like, ooh, Odyssey by Homer, woo! But no, it's not by him at all. It's a card game. But anyways, so the card game that they play, it is a really big thing evidently, and there is a convention going on in Las Vegas. Alden and Conrad do get invited to this, and they're both really excited about it because this could potentially start their whole career, and it could change their lives if they win this, like if they win the main prize, because there's money involved, and then there's also job offers involved as well if you win. So both of them really want this because they need something. Alden, he doesn't want to go the route that his parents want him to go in medical field, and Conrad is having money issues because his parents do not agree with his sexuality. They are both openly gay men. So they decided they're gonna go, and the twist is they have to go on a road trip with each other. There are 2 other people that are supposed to go on this road trip, but their mentor and their teacher, and he ends up breaking a hip by falling down the stairs, and then their other friend that goes along with them, he has a family emergency. So during this time, they're on this road trip. When the friend has the family emergency, Conrad starts to see a change in Alden because Alden offers to pay for the plane ticket for this friend that they have, and it shows that Alden is not just the self-centered rich kid that Conrad thinks that he is. So Conrad sees a change in him, and he starts to catch feelings for him because they are attracted to each other, but they just have these misconceptions about each other that holds them back from actually like getting to know each other. So after their friend leaves, they are on this road trip, and feelings start to develop, and they start to get to know each other because of course they're on a road trip with each other, so they have to talk to each other at some point. So they decided they're going to talk to each other, and they form this really cute relationship, and it's beautiful, and it's just, I absolutely love this book. So obviously, since I'm like going on and on and on and on about it, I did give it a high score. I gave it 4.5 stars just because some of the writing was a little bit off, and I was kind of confused about some of the things that happened in it, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to ruin it for you. Just some things didn't add up. It was really cute. The next 2 books I've already talked about on my channel. Let me get the other one. So the next 2 books are Unraveling Oliver by Liz Nugent, and then 2x2 by Nicholas Sparks. I've already talked about these 2, so I'm not going to go into very much detail about them. Again, if you want to watch that video, I'll link that video down below, and I'll also put a card up, or a card, whichever side it's on. I can't even remember. So Unraveling Oliver by Liz Nugent, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is about this guy named Oliver and about this woman named Alice's marriage. At the very, very beginning, we find out that Oliver has beat his wife into a coma, and she's no longer like mentally there. She's just on a ventilator, and that's how she's staying alive. She's basically a vegetable. And we don't actually know why Oliver has done this. He just says that he's done it and he lost control. So throughout the novel, you are reading from different people's perspectives. You read from about 5 or 6 people's perspectives. Some of the people are basically like Oliver's past friends. Some of them are Alice's friends and family. They're just telling you about what they know about Oliver, what they know about Alice. And it's very interesting to see those different viewpoints about their relationship and about who they are as individuals. So it's kind of like you're reading a docu-series that you would watch on TV about somebody that committed murder, somebody that was abusive towards their spouse. And so it is a very hard read. There are a lot of disclaimers. Spousal abuse is one of them. Cheating is another one. Violence is some. So it's a very hard read. Even though it's hard, I still did give it 3.5 out of 5 stars because of the uniqueness of it, of how you read it, just from the different people's perspectives. So if you are interested in this book, just be forewarned. It's very, very hard read. Very hard read, but it's enjoyable in its own little weird way. And then we get to Nicholas Sparks 2x2. This was the first Nicholas Sparks book that I've ever read, and I don't know if it was the correct choice for me to read like the first book that I've ever read by him. This is about a guy named Russ who is married to this girl named Vivian. She's stunning. He has a beautiful daughter. He has a good job, and he has a chance to start his own business, but he does it without his wife's consent. His marriage is not how he takes it and how he perceives it, because his wife Vivian is not happy in the marriage. So when he starts his own company, she's not happy about it, and she has to go back to work because she's been a stay-at-home mom. And we see a lot of manipulation from her point of him starting his own business. I can understand, being a wife myself, I can understand why she would get so upset, but I don't understand the manipulation part behind her character, because she is very, very manipulative. And if he even tries to do something, like if Russ even tries to do something that she doesn't like, she twists it to where he's the one that's being manipulative rather than she is, if you get what I'm saying. So there's a lot of that in here, which I did not like at all, because I do not like manipulative people whatsoever. I don't associate with them in my real life. I don't like to read about them in my books. Going into this, I really thought that it was going to be like a beautiful father-daughter story, which it does have that aspect in it, but we see more of the domestic side of it, and I really wasn't expecting that. So that was kind of like, whew. And it's a hefty book, and that's really a lot of what happens in this book, is this just the going back and forth with Russ and Vivian's relationship. But going to the actual daughter-father relationship, after Vivian gets this job, she ends up moving out, and she ends up leaving Russ for another man. And at that time, Russ is the sole provider of, or for, his daughter. So they do form a very, very strong bond. He starts to lean on his family a lot for help, mostly his sister, and he starts to become very, very close with his family again, which I love that aspect of it. And you also see a past lover come back in, so this does have a second chance romance, but it's not solely focused on the romance, which is why I don't understand why this book was deemed as a romance novel. I feel like it would be more of a domestic fiction novel. Like, it came in a romance box, so I don't understand why it's really labeled as romance. And I don't know if I'm going to pick up another Nicholas Sparks book, because this one just kind of like, just kind of flat. I did give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars because I like the family aspect of it, like Russ's side of the family. And I did like the father-daughter bond between Russ and his daughter London. So, yep, that's that. The next book was a buddy read that I did with one of my friends on Instagram, and we read The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It was not it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting more of a love story, but it follows this couple named the Trips. We have Melissa and we have Rusty, who are kind of like another Chip and Joanna Gaines, but they hate each other. They don't love each other. They seem like they're perfect on TV, but behind the scenes they are constantly at each other's throat. And we have Carrie and James, who are their assistants, and Carrie and James get sucked into going on a book tour with the Trips, and they end up forming a relationship. Like, Carrie and James end up forming a relationship, but it was more focused on the combativeness of the Trips more than the actual relationship for Carrie and James. So I don't know. Manipulation's a big part of this too, and I don't know. I just didn't really particularly care for it. It wasn't my favorite book, like my favorite romance book, and yeah, so that's it. So the next book that I want to talk about is one of those books that if I could give a 10-star rating to, I would give it a 10-star. I would give it higher than a 10-star, but I could only give it 5 on Goodreads, so that's why I ended up giving it 5. But I freaking love this book. This is Freshwater by Ekweke MZ, and I did speak about this in my most anticipated releases for the rest of the year, because I was reading that at the time, or I was reading this at that time, and it is a fabulous book. This is full of Nigerian and Igbo beliefs, spirituality, and like their religion, I would say, in layman's terms. But I can admit, I did fall in that trap of it being like a book about a mental disability or mental disease or something like that. But I wanted to go ahead and research about what the author was trying to convey to their audience. And what they said in the article is that they don't want people to relate our main character's issues with a mental illness, because that takes away the beliefs of Nigerian and Igbo people. So in the Nigerian, specifically the Igbo beliefs, they have evil spirits called Ibanji, and these evil spirits, of course, take over your body, and they make you do things that you normally would not do as a normal human being. Ada, who is reincarnated as one of Allah's children, has Ibanjis in her. So I don't want to say a lot about it because I don't want to ruin the book for you, but it is so interesting, and it is such a good book, and it is so informative. If you are really wanting to dive into other cultures, this would be a perfect start for you because it is so beautiful. And Ekweke Emzi is actually from the Igbo tribe, and they are from Nigeria, so they know all about what's going on, and it is so beautiful. If you have not read this book, you need to. I know I did not describe it very well because it's very hard to describe without ruining everything, but it is so good. It's just, it's a fantastic book, and if you have not read it yet, I would read it, although it does have a lot of disclaimers in it. There's self-mutilation, there's rape, there's mental illness. I'm going to say quote-unquote mental illness, but as I said, Ekweke Emzi doesn't want people to associate with that, like doesn't want to associate the Abajis with mental illness, if you get what I'm saying. But anyways, it is so beautiful. It's just this was one of those novels that I'm going to be talking about for a long time because I could not get it off my mind, and it's still on my mind. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Pick it up if you haven't already. Obviously I ended up giving it 5 stars. The next book I ended up reading was an audiobook, and I picked this up because I couldn't wait to get my copy in the mail, which I still haven't got it yet, but it's All Boys Aren't Blue, and this is by George M. Johnson. This is one of those books that hit me deep, y'all. It is about George's life as a gay black boy and man. It starts at the time that he was 5 and goes all the way up until modern day, but it is so beautiful. The things that people in the gay community have to go through is not what anyone needs, or it's just not what people should have to go through just to be accepted for who they are. But anyways, it is about how George had to go through life being a gay person and knowing that he was not the same as other boys, and from the very, very young age he knew that he was very different, and he embraced that, and his family accepted him for who he was. And I wish everybody's coming out story was like his, because his family just embraced him and they accepted him for who he was, even if they didn't all the way understand it. But it just tells you about what happens to him and how people have treated him over the years, and how he finally found the people that truly accept him for who he is, and that he's very, very happy in life. And he said that he wrote this book, and he even mentions this in the book, he wrote this memoir, he wrote this book to have, or for people to be able to connect with somebody who is like him. So who is black, who is gay, who is a man, and who embraces himself. And he wanted people to know that they have somebody to connect with, and not everything is always going to be bad. You're going to find that person, you're going to find those people in your life that accepts you for who you are. So I absolutely loved it. It made me laugh, it made me cry. I was literally in the middle of Publix one day listening to this, trying not to cry, because I'm one of those people that puts headphones in and I'm like to people, and I just keep on going when I'm shopping. but it is so beautiful. It's one of those books that I think everybody needs to read. I don't think it would be acceptable for a middle grade, but I think high school and up, it would be acceptable for them. And I want everybody to read this book. It is so good. So good. If you haven't already, I would pick it up. Obviously, I gave it 5 stars. So the last books that I ended up reading for the month of June are books that I read during my romance-a-thon, or the romance-a-thon. So that was my last video, so I'm not really going to go all the way into these books in detail, because if you haven't watched that video already, I'll link it up above and below, so you can go watch those clips that I do. I'm heavy breathing because it's hot up here. So the first book that I ended up reading for the romance-a-thon was The Boyfriend Project by Farrah Rochon. I ended up giving this 4 stars, not for the romance part, because I didn't like the romance part. I didn't really like Daniel's character all that much, because he lied throughout the entire book. But anyways, I gave this 4 stars because of Samia's character and her friends that she ended up meeting in their friendship, and just how Samia's character is very, very headstrong. She's determined. She doesn't let people get in her way of what she wants, even though she's a black woman in a high-tech society full of white men and full of white people. She doesn't let that stop her, and she works with lower income communities, specifically young black females. So she's very, very into charitable work, and she's very into giving back to the community, and I just love that about her. I believe that she is an inspiration to a lot of people, even non-black people like myself. I believe that she's an inspiration. So that's why I ended up giving this 4 stars, but I do go into more detail in my reading vlog, so go check that out. The next book that I ended up picking up was an ARC that I received as a review it's Thoroughly Lit by Tilly Cole, and I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. As I mentioned in my last video, it is a rom-com erotica, which I've never heard about before. Like, I didn't know that those two things could go together, but I ended up loving this book. Faith is a force to be reckoned with. She does not care what she says. She is so funny, and she's just out there. She's just an out there character that you end up falling in love with if you give it a try. Tilly Cole is in the top 2 of my favorite contemporary romance and dark romance authors. I've been reading from her for a really long time, and I'm just so honored that I was able to get a copy of her book. But it's just so funny. It's so funny, and it's steamy. If you don't like steamy books, I wouldn't recommend this for you, but if you like a good steamy book and you're not afraid to read about BDSM, then I would highly recommend you pick this book up, because Tilly Cole, she's fabulous. I love her. But yeah, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. The next book that I ended up picking up is Am I Good Enough to Love by Dominique Thomas and Brienne Dene. And these are 2 authors that I've never heard of before. I was just on Kindle Unlimited going through to see what books were on there, and I ended up coming across this, and I gave this book 4 stars. I loved this book. It was very hard to read at some point. So this book is about 2 sisters named Logan and Colby, and they do not like each other. They've met a few times, but they live on opposite sides of the United States. Logan lives in Detroit while Colby lives in Kansas City, and their dad, he lives in Atlanta. So really the only way that they've ever got to see each other is when they've gone to their dad's house. But Logan is 30 and Colby is 25 when they get a call from their dad saying that they needed to come to Atlanta, and they don't really know what's going on because they don't really communicate with their dad because they don't really like him, and they feel like that he hasn't been in their life at all. Logan has different feelings about her dad because he did live with her mom, Megan, and her until she was about 4 or 5, and then he ended up moving out and leaving them because he got another woman pregnant, Colby's mom. So they've had an estranged relationship for a really long time. But so Logan and Colby do end up going to Atlanta and seeing their dad there's a secret that he has. He ends up passing away, and these two sisters have to come together so they can run the family business. He has a cleaning service, like a dry cleaning service, so they have to come together. And it's just about the bond that they make and how their paths collide. The girls and their moms have really close relationships, and I really love that aspect. It reminded me of me and my mom's relationship, just how close we are. And their moms weren't afraid to apologize for their past. They were really young when they had kids, and they didn't make the right choices, but they automatically come out and they say that they didn't make them, which I really appreciated, because a lot of people won't take up for their mistakes, but their mothers did. And they really pushed for the two sisters, or for Logan and Colby, to have a relationship and to come together after their father passed away. So I ended up really loving it, and Colby and Logan end up with the two guys that I wanted them to end up with, and I was so excited. I was so happy when I realized, or when they ended up with the two people that they ended up with. So it has a lot of family issues. It talks about some drugs, it talks about guns, it talks about racism, it talks about a lot of different things. It's just, it's a really, really good book, and if you are interested, I would highly recommend picking it up. It is on Kindle Unlimited, but they do have a way for you to order the book as well, and I do plan on picking up books from, like, separately from these two authors, like that they've written separately, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that book. And the last book that I read, I was super excited about this. This was probably the book that I was most excited about, because How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is one of my top 10 romance or rom-coms that you can watch. So I picked up Not the Girl You Marry by Andy J. Christopher. I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I liked this book, but it kind of got really dry in the middle, and then it started picking up again, and then it got dry again, and then it got slow, and then it picked up a lot at the end. I loved Hannah's character. I liked Jack's character. Their relationship was a really, really good bond, but again, the underlining lie, which I kind of contradict myself, because I say that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is like one of my favorite movies, but as I've gotten older, relationships that are built on lies, just they kind of do it for me. But the way that these two came together, it was really funny. Hannah's very funny. Hannah's very headstrong. She is a determined woman, and she has to go through a lot because she is a biracial person. She is white and she is black, so she has had a lot of stigma towards her because of that. And she automatically thinks that Jack's gonna have some sort of perception of her just because of her race, but he doesn't. So that makes her really see him in a different light, and it comes up quite a bit in the novel, which is, it's an important topic, so I did appreciate that as well. But it just kind of fell flat for me. Yeah, it's cute. It's very cute. If you like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, it's cute. I should have mentioned that they, like, Jack is the journalist in here, and Hannah is like the event planner, like just like how the movie is. I think another reason why this book kind of fell flat for me is because I already knew what was going to happen. It did follow the movie like to the T. So if you've seen that movie, you know exactly what's going to happen in this book. But I can say this. You see a lot more family going on in this book, which I really appreciated. And you see a lot of friendships in this book, and I liked it. Yeah, if that makes sense. So that is the end of this wrap up. I know that I spoke a lot about these books. I ended up loving a lot of the books that I read this month. This month was a harder month for me to read in, because I had a lot of stuff on my mind, obviously, with all the stuff that's going on in the world. But I ended up really enjoying a lot of these books, so I'm going to go through the little stats right quick. So I ended up having 3 5-star reads, 1 4.5 star read, 4 3-star reads, no, 3 4-star reads, sorry, 3 3.5 star reads, and then 1 3-star read. So I say that I read a lot of good books this month, and I'm very, very happy with the selections that I picked. Some of these were a little bit out of my comfort zone, which I want to do. I want to read more in my comfort zone, but yeah. Anyways, so this is my wrap up. I'm sorry if I rambled a lot. I was just excited about these books and excited to tell you about them. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Like this video, comment down below, let me know what you read in the month of June. If you have any suggestions you want me to read in the month of July, please let me know. I'm always down for some suggestions. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.